Welcome to ShareTreck. It is 18th of December, 9:33 p.m. I'm really happy to see the number of views going up, more of audience engagement, really good feedback and suggestions. And I thought let's do some extra work a little late night, and complete this particular special that have been working on for a while now. This is basically about CRISPR, and today I promise not to look at any charts or trend lines or anything, because when we are looking at investment, it's not one-dimensional, right? We mostly look at our trend lines, we look at the wicks and all that, and it's more oriented towards day and swing trading. Whereas when you want to look at a holistic approach towards long-term investment, you need to look at other issues also, like macroeconomics, development in the field that we are investing in, and so on. And in that vein, I'm going to talk about what is happening in CRISPR, just a roundup of all the thoughts that we have, some old, some new, and just so that we can have context in which we are doing our investment decisions and analysis. So let's get started. And today I would first like to start by listing out all the good things that have happened with regard to CRISPR, and how it is taking us closer towards monetization. And then I would talk a little bit about other approaches in genetic medicine, which are also equally contributing to monetization and revolutionizing the field of medicine, and making a paradigm shift on how treatments are done. Instead of treating symptoms and instead of invasive surgery, the whole paradigm is getting shifted, of going on a molecular level, for the lack of a better term, into the genetics, and manipulating the genetics, and coming up with lasting relief, lasting remedy, and lasting solutions. So I'm going to talk about that, and then after that I would be talking about what is happening in the non-technology area, which is going to be more in terms of the investment thought process, about the macroeconomics, about the dynamics at play in investment at this point of time. So this is going to be slightly longish session. Maybe you want to watch it in 2 installments. I'm going to try and put it out there as crisp and short as possible. I'll also give some references that I wish you could read at your free time, and use your own thought process on it, and maybe put some comments back here, so that we can ruminate over all this information before market opens on Monday, and look at the market developments in a new light with more information in our hands. So to begin with, the convenience of technique makes CRISPR a mainstream methodology for many cancer or biology studies, and this was not available before. So it's a convenient methodology or a tool. Already CRISPR is used in trials of people with cancer, so we already have some trials going on. We also have trials going on with sickle cell anemia, beta thalassemia, all those areas apart from cancer. And research have already tested a cancer treatment involving immune cells that were CRISPR edited to better hunt down and attack cancer. I'll be talking more about that in subsequent slides. And CRISPR tool consists of 2 main actors. One is a guide RNA, and the other is a DNA cutting enzyme, most commonly called Cas9. Scientists designed the guide RNA to mirror the DNA of the gene to be edited, called the target. So the target will have the identical pattern as the guide RNA. So the guide RNA is going to be seeking out the pattern and lock onto it, and then the Cas9 will be cutting at that location. And after this, what happens is, there are a lot of tools. There are a lot of tools that are available. Basically, there are 2 approaches. One approach is that the target gene's DNA is scrambled while it is repaired and the gene is inactivated. That is one approach. The other approach is to manipulate genes in a more precise way, such as adding a new segment of DNA or editing single DNA letters. So batch processing and individual processing, that's how I would look at it from a IT perspective. CRISPR can be used to edit virtually any segment of DNA within the 3 billion letters of the human genome, and it's more precise than other DNA editing tools. So at this point of time, I'd like to just share my own epiphany. When I have been looking at CRISPR, I have been purely looking at the human condition and how it's going to help the human target the human ailments and diseases and all that. Whereas CRISPR has got a lot of application even on crops and animals and other areas. So we should not lose sight of that, because maybe some of the monetization opportunities may come in those areas way before it does for in the human related research that is going on. So gene editing with CRISPR is a lot faster and scalable and cheaper than most methods. So when they talk about it being faster, so it means that the kits are already available, they are economical, they are easily deployable, and they do not need too much of investment in order to apply them. When they talk about scalable, it can be scaled to do editing in a larger number of instances or just a single letter. So it has got a whole range of scalability of how many letters it's going to address in the DNA. And it's cheaper than most methods. So all these things are making CRISPR a much more attractive technology from an investment perspective, and also an attractive technology for scientists, because it's going to save them time, money, and efforts in their research process. Novartis has adopted a very different approach to treating cancer. And I want to show a small video at this stage. It's probably hardly 1.5 to 2 minutes, but it's a very, very beautiful animation of what Novartis has done and succeeded so far. So please hold on while I queue up that video. So let's get started.
Understanding CAR T cell therapy. This information is for educational purposes only. Some autologous CAR T cell therapies have been approved for the treatment of specific types of cancer by health authorities. Others are still being studied in clinical trials. Allogeneic CAR T therapy is still being studied and is considered investigational. Its safety and efficacy have not been established. What is a CAR T cell? Before we learn what a CAR T cell is, let's talk about T cells. T cells are a type of immune system cell used to make CAR T cells. T cells find and kill cells that may be infected by a virus or cells that should not be in the body, such as cancer cells. Receptors on the surface of the T cell help it bind to other cells. Proteins, which define a cell's structure and function, are often the targets of receptors. When researchers develop CAR T therapies, they modify the DNA of the T cell so that the T cell expresses chimeric antigen receptors, or CARs, on its surface. A CAR is like a key that fits a specific lock, such as a protein, on the surface of another cell. How do CAR T cells kill cancer cells? When a CAR T cell meets a cancer cell that has the specific protein or lock on its surface, the CAR T cell can bind to it to attack and kill the cancer cell. How are CAR T cells made? To create CAR T cells, scientists add the CAR in a laboratory, which can take 3 to 4 weeks. Scientists create CAR T cells using either autologous or allogeneic T cells. Autologous CAR T cell therapy uses T cells that are collected from the patient and shipped to a laboratory. Once ready, the patient receives a short course of chemotherapy, which makes room in their body for the CAR T cells. Allogeneic CAR T cell therapy uses T cells from a healthy donor. Once again, T cells from the donor are shipped to a laboratory. The CAR T cells need to be modified to be accepted by the patient's body. Since allogeneic CAR T cells can be made in advance, they are quickly sent to the hospital upon request and given to the patient after a short course of chemotherapy, which makes room in the body for the CAR T cells. Talk to your healthcare provider and visit clinicaltrials.gov to learn more.
So that was a short video I wanted you to see. I'll put the URL down in the body of this video. in the description section, and you can have a look at it. I believe this particular treatment had a few setbacks, if I'm not mistaken, but things are on the right track. That's about that video. Let us continue with our original train of thought. So the hurdles to CRISPR at this point of time, they comprise of a situation where sometimes CRISPR cuts the DNA outside of the target gene, which is known as off-target editing, and it can have various consequences, mild, sometimes severe, and sometimes nothing at all. So that thing is being worked on right now, so that CRISPR is much more precise most of the times, and this kind of off-target editing is reduced. Getting CRISPR components into cells is a challenge. So there are a couple of ways in which the scientists try to handle this situation. One of the methods is basically to use a virus to deliver the payload, and that particular virus would be a benign virus that is modified to carry genes for the guide RNA and Cas. There is a possibility that in some cases the virus used to carry CRISPR can infect multiple types of cell. For example, they may end up editing ocular cells while the goal was to edit liver cells. So as we all know, once a virus is released into a body, it literally can go anywhere. And if the guide RNA finds a pattern to match, it's going to match. And once it latches to that pattern, the Cas is going to do the editing. So this is a problem to be handled, and for this, what the scientists are doing is they are looking at specific viruses which only target specific parts of the body, so that they can modify that and put the payload into it and target that particular organ or part of the body. So that solution is being worked on. They are still working on fine-tuning the delivery of CRISPR to specific cells in the human body using that kind of a virus. And the major concern is that while editing cells inside the body, there could be changes that happen which can be passed on to future generation. So that is a big question, both ethical, moral, as well as from a liability perspective, right? We are tampering with the future of the civilization. So that is a big hurdle that has to be crossed, and that's why the regulatory regimes, the trials, and the protocols, everything is going to be really, really strict in this field. The non-scientific happenings, the most major one of them, of course, we talk about our wicks and the charts and the resistance and support and all those things, inflation, tapering. Apart from that, I have something that I wanted to discuss today, which is from Kathy Woods. I'm not verbatim picking the whole thing here. I just got a few high points. And in the details of this video, in the description section, I'll put a link to the article that I'm referring to here, so you can do your own reading and at your own pace and make your own conclusion, and then put it back in the commentary so that we can have a discussion. So what Kathy Woods is saying, that her primary message is that innovation solves problems and is expected to transfer human lives at an accelerated rate during the next 5 to 10 years. And therefore, she believes that at this point of time, the volatility has pushed down the shares which are targeted by Kathy Woods, which includes our CRISPR stocks and the robotics and EVs, those kind of shares. She believes that they are at lowest levels possible, and you buy now and you will be having really good gains as they start to get monetized. So she feels her portfolio is really getting geared up for superlative returns. So let me come back to the very first point here. Innovation solves problems and is expected to transform human lives at an accelerated rate during the next 5 to 10 years. So as we look forward in this slide, I may have some points about this subsequently also. So there is this Moore's law in case of integrated circuits and chips, where it said that you can pack in more circuits and you can reduce the cost and you can increase the performance, doubling it over again and again. So over a period of time, there's an exponential improvement in the efficiency, in the cost, in the power, everything. So similarly, Kathy Woods believe, and she has given some metrics of at what rate the scalability and affordability of CRISPR and other technologies are growing. So I'll talk about that because those numbers are not from me; they are coming from the ARC Kathy G Foundation. So Kathy Wood says that 40% compound annual rate of return during the next 5 years is her expectation. For example, she says that Teladoc has declined 70% from the value at its peak. So her thesis is that at this point of time, if you buy Teladoc, you have a 70% upside when it gets back to its peak in the near future. So that the near future happens to be a 5-year time frame that she's targeting. So that's her proposition on this. And her feeling about the market. I have my own opinions on this, which I'm going to share. But first, let us look at what Kathy Woods thinks is happening in the market. She feels that algorithmic and quant trading are backwards looking, and they are at play right now. And do not recognize that companies investing aggressively today are sacrificing short-term profitability for an important reason. That is to capitalize on an innovation age, the likes of which the world has never witnessed. This new age is thanks to the 5 major innovation platforms evolving today: DNA sequencing, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology. Unlike companies paralyzed by short term oriented shareholders demanding their profits and dividends now, truly innovative companies are on the offense. So now, at this stage, I would also like to point out what what I constantly hear on CNBC when Jim Cramer says he talks about the Wall Street and he talks about hedge funds all looking for immediate returns, and they are looking for whatever happens in this quarter and in this year and so on, and they make those short-term decisions. So that's another way of looking at it, right? But my own personal point of view is that regardless of all these things, right, our job as investors to understand what is the sentiment and psychology of the market, and then also look at what is the promise of the technology and where it is in reality in terms of proof of concept, in terms of ability to deploy, in terms of market acceptance, in terms of market penetration, in terms of cost of delivering, in terms of margin, and then we come to look at the fundamentals and technicals in more detail, right? So we have to do all those things, and the fact that the market is deploying algorithmic and quant trading, or that hedge funds are short-term oriented and all, is not excuse, because we are losing our capital if we do not make the right decision. So we can't absolve ourselves of that responsibility. So that is point number one that I have, which I wanted to make here. And let's go ahead. So she further says, my conviction is growing that the bigger surprise to the markets will be the price deflation, both cyclical and secular, and that after collapsing this year, higher multiple stocks would turn around dramatically during the next year. So what Kathy Woods has been saying, even in her videos before, is that she suspects that during this pandemic and during the lockdown, companies have ordered too much of raw materials, and they're all stuck in the bottleneck in the supply chain, and they're all going to arrive at once. And she also believes lots of cars are sitting in the driveways of owners, and that is going to be a glut. And everything is going to, all the prices are going to go down instead of the inflation that the Fed is expecting. So this is a very, very big assumption. And what happens when inflation happens is that the money supply is going to be tightened by the Fed, so they will start increasing the interest rates so that people would have to prioritize on shares or instruments that are giving them better returns. And if the rate of return on interest goes up, then the risk is lesser to earn that kind of income. So traditionally what would happen in that situation is that shares with higher multiples, shares of non-revenue companies, and shares which have got multiples like price to sales rather than price to earnings, those kind of shares would find a lot of challenges in going up, and probably they may even drop in value. And those shares which are defensive, like those of utilities or REITs, they may start going up. And in case of REITs also, there's an inverse relationship that I have noticed, at least in Canada, that when a REIT is giving a regular monthly dividend of X% of amount, it tries to mimic what happens in the interest rate of the central bank. So if the interest rate goes up, the market value of the REIT kind of drops down. So there are all these dynamics at play. So what Kathy Woods is thinking that instead of the inflation that is expected, there will be more of a deflation. and as a result of which money will start coming back towards the more risky stocks, stocks which have got promise of great revenue in the future but are consuming the burning of the capital right now. So those kind of stocks will start attracting the money back again. So Teladoc, which was down 70%, is probably going to go up, and all these things are going to happen in the next 1 to 5 year time frame. So that's what she probably means, as per my understanding. So here is the statement that she makes, which is equivalent to the Moore's law when it comes to semiconductors. According to Wright's law, our research shows that costs associated with every cumulative doubling in the number of whole human genomes sequenced with long read technologies will drop 28%. So any cost that drops automatically gets added to the margin, and those associated with short reads 40%. Meanwhile, every cumulative doubling in the number of industrial robots and batteries produced will drive costs down 50% and 28% respectively. Moreover, artificial intelligence training costs are declining at a rate of 60% per year. Proactively, these platforms are converging, creating the potential for more dramatic cost declines as S-curves feed and reinforce each other. So this makes sense to me, but Kathy Woods has got a lot of confidence, and she has got nerves of steel, because the kind of capital she's deploying and the conviction with which she's able to implement these strategies is really admirable. But from my perspective, I'm going to be a bit careful because I don't have the money to lose. And I would again look at dollar cost averaging and only starting investing when I see consecutive movement upwards, when a bullish trend is assumed, because I don't mind losing a little bit of money or opportunity. I want to avoid fear of missing out, and I want to make sure that my fear of losing my capital doesn't come true. So those are the things I'm juggling in my mind. So that brings me to an end of the weekend CRISPR and genetics talk. And the idea of sharing this with you is just giving you a mirror of my mind, of what all I'm reading right now and what is my thought process, because everything is not just graphs, right? We need to have a rounded view of this. Please share your comments. What do you think about the market? Do you think what Kathy Woods is saying makes sense to you? And any other information that you want to share, let us have the discussion. I have seen lately a lot of viewers are communicating on the comment section. Let us all have comments with each other, and this is how we'll be able to improve our view of the market, and that in turn will inform us in interpreting the charts and making much more confident decisions. So with that, I bring this session to an end. Thanks for sharing, subscribing, and liking this video, and thanks for all the support you have given me. And it's rather early for Christmas, but I would like to start wishing from today onwards. Wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays to everyone. Take care. See you again in the next session. Bye for now.